Hey, Autumn Athletes, Larry Sorensen here, and today I'm going to connect with Nicki Branch, find out what makes her an Autumn Athlete that's not done yet. Before we get started, remember, if you enjoy our content, please like, subscribe, and ding that bell for notifications. All right, let's kick this thing off. Nicki, thanks so much for joining us today. Why don't you start us off with an introduction of yourself?
Thank you, Larry. My name is Nicki Branch. I'm a 66-year-old woman living in San Diego, California. I have a son, Jordan, and he is 28. He's waiting his first child. I recently retired a month ago. I was a chemist, superintendent for a city running a water quality laboratory for 43 years. So now I have more time on my hands to train. I also run a nonprofit horse rescue called Falcon Ridge. I live on a 7-acre ranch. So the last several years, my fitness routine has mainly been ranch hard labor work.
Well, nice to meet you. Now,
Yeah.
before we get into what you're doing now in Masters Athletics, why don't you tell us just a little bit about your athletic history?
Since I was a kid, I loved PE class. When they have security questions online, they say, "What was your favorite class in school?" I always put PE. Did the presidential physical fitness tests. I loved them. I think I made some sort of record for an arm hang back in the day. But there wasn't a lot of sports for women. And I remember being frustrated about that. At one point, I ran track, I guess, so hard that my PE coach talked to the boys track coach, and they asked me to come out for the boys track team because there was no girls track team back at the time. I tried to run a 400. I tried to run all out because I was running against a guy, and I didn't do very well. So I didn't go into that. And then after that, as a teenager, I think I rode horses. I showed horses, hunters and jumpers, and that was essentially it as far as my athletics going until I was 63.
Have you had any kind
Yeah.
of inspirations to get you involved in athletics when you're younger and or now at the age of 63?
Yes, my parents always watched The Wide World of Sports. So every weekend, that's what we were watching on TV. We always watched the Olympics. I remember watching Bruce Jenner do the decathlon and just being fascinated with it. All the women, FloJo, all the women runners. I wanted to be like them. I remember being frustrated, thinking, why didn't my parents raise me as an athlete as a little kid? So those were inspirations to me. Also, at the same time, I think the first woman climbed Mount Everest. I remember being inspired by that a woman could actually climb Mount Everest back in the day. And then I think that's essentially it as far as my motivation back then. I just always admired all the Olympians. And
So what got you motivated at age 63 to start getting involved with track and field?
I was feeling a little overweight, and my flexibility was bad. I mean, it was hard to get out of my car. And I thought, gosh, when I hit 60, I thought, I'm getting older. I got to do something. So for one last hurrah, I had seen a video of a fitness trainer named April Austin Pugh on TV, and I thought, gosh, I need to hire a fitness trainer. I can't do it on my own. I need somebody to tell me how to exercise. So I hired this fitness trainer, April, at 63, and she started getting me fit. And within a couple of months, I felt so good. I was way more flexible. I was stronger. I was losing weight, gaining muscle. And I told her, I got to do something with this. And she says, "What do you mean?" And I go, "Well, I've got to compete or something." And so I had played soccer recreationally at 23, and it's now 40 years later. And I said, "I think I want to play soccer." And she was like, "Okay." So she trained me up for soccer. I started playing around the country and found out that there was women seniors that played in tournaments. So that's how I started. Once I did start doing that well, I told my fitness trainer again, "I think I want to do track and field." And she's like, "Okay, great. What do you do?" And I said, "I don't know. I haven't really done it. I haven't done anything." And so she started training me up for track and field. And I stupidly signed up for the USA Track and Field Association indoor nationals for the pentathlon. And I'd never done any of the events in the pentathlon. So I thought, oh no, what am I, how am I going to do this? So I went to another meet in Arizona in Flagstaff, where I decided to, I picked the events that were in the pentathlon. So I'd never high jumped. I'd never done hurdles. I had never done the shot put. And so I did those at that event and learned how to high jump after belly flopping on the pole. And I did okay. And then I went off to the pentathlon in New York at the Armory, and I got a bronze medal, and I was just shocked. And the amazing thing there was all the lady athletes in the USATF pentathlon. I told them, I said, hey, I'm a first time pentathlete. I've never done this. And they were so helpful, so supportive. The camaraderie was great. And that really helped. So it let me know a new older athlete could come in and do this without feeling bad and feeling supported by all of them. So that's what got me rolling.
Fill us in a little bit on what kind of climbing do you do? Is this trekking, hiking, climbing? What is it you mean by doing 6 of the 7 summits, and what's the one summit that you haven't done?
Back in 2006, when I was 49, I had lost my job of 26 years. And so I was devastated. They'd done a downsizing at work. So I didn't have a job, and I was feeling horrible about it. And then my mother unfortunately passed away 3 months later, and I was going through menopause at the same time. So it was kind of a triple whammy. And in the past, I'd been reading about climbing the 7 summits of the world, which are the highest summit in each continent. And I was feeling so bad. I thought, gosh, I've got to do something that makes me feel good. I love climbing in the mountains. And so I decided to sign up with a guide, a mountain guide, and I climbed, I believe, 6 of the 7 summits within a year. The last summit, the 6th summit, we were in Antarctica on Mount Vinson, and we were in an 8-day storm, me and my guide, and we were running out of food. So I had a come to Jesus moment where I realized I might, I might not want to be doing this right now. And so we went ahead and summited after the storm ended. And then I was supposed to climb Everest next. And I decided it's not worth it. I know I could probably climb it if I had to. And so that was my thing. And then after a few months after that, I got a new job, better job, wonderful career after that. So it sort of helped me through it. So it's, yeah, high altitude mountaineering is what I did when I was around 50, 49, 50.
Do you still do any kind of climbing or hiking or high level stuff? Or
I think my last summit a year or so ago was at Mount Baker in Washington. And then, with me doing my soccer and my track meets now, I just don't have time to do any
yeah.
larger summits. So
Did you have any kind of injuries or setbacks along the way that held you up for any periods of time?
most of them as playing a soccer goalkeeper. So one game I tore my biceps tendon off the bone. I've broken fingers playing goalkeeper. I've injured my shoulder. And then I think this not too long ago, I injured my quadriceps muscle. And now I currently have an injury of my deltoid tendons in my left ankle was initially from high jumping, and then I just re-injured it at a soccer tournament. So I'm working on that, but not too bad. And
Yeah.
my fitness trainer says, you know what, you're going to get injured. You're now an athlete, and you're an older athlete. So it
Yeah.
just comes with the territory.
Tell us a little bit about your successes, maybe some of your best results, any kind of awards or achievements that you have managed to accumulate over the past few years.
I don't make records. I'm not the fastest runner or the highest jumper. But there's not a lot of women competing in my age group, which is 65 to 69. So my goal last year was to do a pentathlon, a heptathlon, and to compete in the decathlon, which I was very afraid of. But that ended up being, I think, my best track meet ever was the decathlon last year, the USATF combined championships. And so won that with my age group. Again, no other ladies, so it's kind of easy to get a medal. But I was just glad that how well I did. And now I'm trying to focus on getting better, improving all my scores and everything. You saw me at the indoor heptathlon in Kenosha. I also competed in the double heptathlon. So that was my goal, to do a indoor the double heptathlon. Got the gold in that. I believe I was the oldest woman there at that event in Boston. And I believe it was a world record because I was the oldest woman that competed in they call it the tetra decathlon. And then I want to compete in the regular decathlon this year, and then the double decathlon in August as well. So those are my goals coming up. So I'm just happy to be there. If I get a medal, great. And I post, when I do compete in soccer and track and field, I post it on Facebook because I believe in what you believe in, is to get people motivated to exercise when they're older. Most of us stop in our 30s and we don't do anything anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it's great to play a game or compete in order to get back into shape. That's the only way I can do it. Going to gym is just not going to do it for me. So that's my goal, is to get other people to do this as well. And my son is pretty fascinated. When I told him I have a soccer tournament coming up, he's like, "Mom, what are you talking about? You don't play soccer." And I said, "Well, I did when I was 23." And then he later went to one of my track meets, and he was blown away. He just couldn't believe his mom could run.
Yeah. Speaking of training, what do you do for training? Give us a little idea of all the things you do, whether it's cross training or track work or soccer field work, whatever it is you do to keep yourself active and fit and competitive in all these different areas of athletics that you do.
Well, being here at the ranch, I'm carrying 50-pound bags of feed. I'm fixing fences. I'm shoveling. So I kind of keep in shape that way, but I work out with my fitness trainer twice a week. She does high intensity training for me, strength training, and also focuses on what I am competing in next. And then she also gives me daily exercises to do on an app, to where I'm doing core training, weightlifting, etc. And then it records it. And so she knows that I worked out or not. So it holds me accountable. So that's what keeps me fit. Unfortunately, I don't have a track to work on. So I kind of feel good about, I'm going to these track meets and I'm not getting to train on the track like all these champions get to. But we just don't really have any in my area. So I don't get to do that a lot. But it's mainly working out with my trainer. She's really helped me.
Now you talk about your ranch. What kind of a ranch do you have and what do you do on it?
So I have a 7-acre horse ranch in Valley Center, and I run a nonprofit horse rescue. So I always have about 50 horses here. And I rescue them from local humane agencies, rehabilitate them, and then adopt them out. And some of them are sanctuary horses. So, and I've been doing that for 22 years now.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
I previously showed horses when I was a teenager. I showed hunters and jumpers, and then I've later gotten into rescuing horses, which is fun.
Tell us a little bit about your approach to diet and nutrition.
My approach to diet and nutrition has mainly been monitored by my fitness trainer, April. She will constantly ask me what I had to eat that day. So I've cut down on, and I retired a month ago. So not a lot of fast food anymore. I was eating fast food for lunch every day. I'm no longer doing that. I mainly focus on having proteins such as chicken or a little piece of steak, and then I mix it in with salads, greens, and vegetables. I don't eat a lot of carbs. So mainly it's a high protein diet mixed with veggies and stuff. And once I kind of got rid of my junk diet, I started not craving it anymore. So that's been really, really helpful. But I mainly have to have somebody tell me what not to eat.
All right. So you train hard, you eat well, you play in different athletic endeavors. You're 66 years old. What motivates you to keep doing it?
Well, what motivates me, Larry, is I set goals. I'm goal driven. So the reason I will go do something is that I've stupidly signed myself up for it. And then I try to figure out, oh no, now I've got to do this. And so I force myself by signing up for events. And that's what keeps me going. If I've completed an event, or if I don't have any other competitions on the horizon, I get pretty sad. So setting hard goals and then trying to achieve them, and then achieving them, that's what does it for me. And I suggest that for anybody, is just always have a goal and always set the goal and then try to get it.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your social media footprint and where we can find you so that we can follow you?
Okay, my Facebook profile is Nicki Branch, Nicki, and then Branch like a tree. I post on there every day, mostly because I have a nonprofit horse rescue, but that's where I also share my stories of, my son growing up. He's now married and getting ready to have a child. My going and playing soccer all of a sudden, and then doing track and field events. So I kind of share my life online. So I try to, like I said, be a platform for, living your own life, living a healthy life, and then continue to play, like we don't anymore. So whether it's with horses or soccer or whatever, that's what I try to help people figure out what to do.
Great. Well, we will definitely post the links to those social media accounts in the description below, so you can go check out Nicki whenever you want. All right. So, Nicki, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a lot of fun to get to know a little bit about you. I'd like to wrap up with giving you the opportunity to address our audience and just give us some final thoughts.
Well, I couldn't really believe that this journey has happened. I encourage people to, join your local recreation center. I know a lot of people are doing pickleball nowadays, just to get out and exercise by playing a game, whether it's tennis, basketball, soccer, whatever. You can feel so much better. And a lot of people, they tell me they're tired and they can't do this, and they don't understand that if you do exercise, it creates more energy to where you feel like you need to go do something. And so once you kind of start it, then it stays with you. And having a personal trainer, I need a personal trainer. Other people can go to the gym and do it themselves. But yeah, I would suggest that people go to their local city rec department and play older games, no matter what they are. I was so happy to see several years ago the Huntsman games on, I think, TV. And I thought, what is that? And then I saw it was these masters, and they were doing everything from horseshoes to softball to soccer and track. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, that'd be great to do when I'm older. And I was older a few years later. So I'm so glad I found it. So now I go to the Huntsman games every year, and compete in soccer tournaments there. But I was bothered by the fact that I didn't know that there's no commercials on TV to say go do senior games. But it's so much fun. I'm going to try to get my sister, who's 70, involved in the San Diego senior games, and see if I can get her to come with me.
Some great advice from Nicki Branch. She's definitely an autumn athlete that's not done yet. Remember, keep moving, set your own goals, and train hard to achieve them. Thanks you so much for joining us today. We will see you next time.